by you. I'm glad you are, man. I have to take a test probably next week. Just my job is making people do it.
Let's say, what was the reasoning?
Just my job to making people do it. So we're on like a random list, but I know we're running out of people, so I know my name's coming up on that list. And I'm traumatized because I took a friend to get a COVID test. And when he went, I thought it was going to be a little swab and done deal.
Nosy.
This lady unsheathed a javelin-sized Q-tip.
Nosy O'Donnell.
Dude, put it in his nose. Stop, like a magic trick. Was like, stop and put her hands away like a magic trick. And then went further in. And then walked away.
Well, I don't know about that part.
Dude, my man got a pole vault sticking out of his nose, and she was like, "I'll be right back," and walked away. My man got one tear coming down his eye.
I'm about to say that's what happens to you. Like, well, that's what happened to me at least. Like just mad tears out of nowhere.
Flinching like he hit some part in his brain.
Yeah, you hit the frontal lobe for sure or something.
Came back like a minute later and was just like, boom, like a magic trick, just never-ending fucking Q-tip coming out of his nose.
That's weird because like mine they had it up both nostrils, and it's like by time you like just like get over what they did to you in that first nostril, like the second part is almost like done already. So,
when I took my boy, one nostril. And like you can see the part poking out the top of his head, like she went so far up. So I'm a little traumatized. But everybody that went and did theirs from my job says it's what you said, just a little swabby swab on both sides, and that was that. So I don't know. I'm nervous.
I'm saying it was added. So Will, you had to have the same thing though, right?
I did the same thing, but they didn't leave it in the minute. It was just like they put it in, like I had the tear. And then like seconds later, pulled it out, and that's it.
All right, that makes me feel a little better. I just think that maybe it was the first day, or she was just having a bad day.
It's like your initiation into the game. That's like your initiation into the game, man. Get that little teardrop, you're good.
I'd rather catch a beat down for a minute than to have that stuck in my nose.
It is so quick. It is so quick. Again, by the time you're like, oh, what the? They're already in another one. And you're like, and then it's like you just have tears.
Yeah, that's what I heard. What I saw was it coming out of a horror flick.
I don't know what they're doing over there in Scatton.
The Scatton Airmen over there.
So I got to take my test. It'll probably be this Friday. I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah.
If I show up and I have like an indent coming out the top of my head, then they did it that way.
She's poking out your eyes.
Oh, dude, that's not looking forward to it. But that's neither here nor there. Welcome to the show, everybody. We're just going right into it. Happy Valentine's Day to the people that are just miserable with somebody else.
There you go.
I like the one-day acknowledgement of love. So today, it's like a peace. It's like, you know what it is? It's like a truce in a war.
All right, that's a good comparison. But it's also like in wrestling how, like somebody's finishing move could be like a tomahawk chop to the head, but anybody else's like move it like doesn't do the same damage. It's like fucking Valentine's Day. You can cook and clean and do all that shit for your wife or your girlfriend, whatever, every other day, but for some reason today it counts more than others.
I like to, if I can compare it also to wrestling, it's like two people that were fighting, but then they get together for a common cause and they hug it out. And then when one person turns their back, they just come with a chair shot, and that would be the next day. Bang!
All right, that's
Shawn Michaels super kick through the barber shop.
That's what it was. That's the day before Valentine's Day and the day after rolled up into like 10 seconds. Just, we have problems. All right, hug it out. And then he turns around and turns back around and catches a super kick to the face.
Like when Hogan got dissed by Andre. Like, Andre, why? Come on, Andre, why?
That's so happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
I have my Valentine's Day themed love stories coming up. But before we get to that, Mr. Len, you can set it off, sir.
All right. So today I wanted to talk about or ask you guys in regards to all right, let me go back a second. So I was having a rough week, and I forgot why, or where I was looking through stuff through my like garbage closet here, and I found like some old mixtapes. So I'm like, damn, I haven't listened to mixtapes in a minute, man, because I used to collect like you would not believe and listen all day long like you would not believe. So like, let me just go back. So YouTube has a lot of these or some of the clue tapes, like the full albums. So I was just jamming out listening. I'm like, man, this shits were like the fucking shit back then. I remember like scrambling, trying to go to each barbershop that I knew to see who had the mixtape, who out of my friends maybe had the mixtape so I can get the copy of it. Me making my own mixtapes of the mixtapes, like, you know, once they make the put them to CDs or even tapes, you know, just doing all that. So it made me thinking, like, for you guys, like, how did you guys love that era? Do you miss that era? Who were some of your favorite DJs? Any funny stories in relation to that, and just how like that's like not a thing now anymore, you know?
Mixtape era was definitely good. You're definitely the king of the mixtapes. I mean, I would look for it, but I wouldn't look for it like you did. If anything, I'll try to get it from you after you put in the work. But yeah, I love them. Like, it used to break the new single or the new song that's not like on the radio sometimes, and usually the first 5 songs are the hottest, and then like towards the end of the tape is not like that great. But yeah, I used to love especially the clue tapes. Clue tapes are definitely my favorite.
That was my dog right there. That was my dog. And I wrote down a couple of names just to kind of go with the whole reminiscing part of it. So I want to let me run through them, some of the names that I wrote down if my thing starts to work here. So you got DJ Clue, you got some, I remember getting some Ron G 14. I remember it was like a fucking dope. K-Slay, some DJ Envies, some Rated R's. Oh man, some Green Lanterns and
Cold
shit like
cheese.
That. Yeah, I used to love all that ad lib shit. I know, Paul. I already know where you're gonna go, but like I know you hated like motherfuckers talking over the tapes and shit like that. There was just something about that that just made it like appealing to me. I don't know why, but I just love the ad lib part of it. My bad. Go ahead.
So the era itself was an incredible era for hip hop. There is no denying that. Like when you open up the history books in hip hop and you go into the DJ era, it has a significant part in hip hop. So I am not denying that. Mm-hmm. All the DJs you said like took the ball, like they defined it. They kind of defined that era. With that said, I didn't like it only because what you said. I would, you'd get into a song and I have to hear Clue talking about for reservation and on mitzvahs, holla at me at 718, blah, 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 blah. But meanwhile, you just talk over this ill verse.
This is the best verse right here.
Let me talk over it. Why? So it kind of set the bar for compilation type albums, and it set the bar for artists having mad collabs. Because kind of before the DJ era, a solo album was a solo album. It was this one artist front to back throughout the whole album. Maybe feature collab here and there, feature here and there. After the DJ era, it was like, all right, this person, if they had, a 16-track album, like 10, 11, 13 tracks were with somebody. And I kind of guess you got to put that towards the DJs because it was a diverse tape. It wasn't just one artist. And then you got to hear artists that you normally would be like in the dark about. You know, when Clue was doing his thing, and I give respect for all, you know, them yammering all over the mixtape aside. Nobody would have ever heard of Cannabis.
They broke a lot of artists, exactly. A lot of artists broke.
Cannabis had the crown just because of mixtapes. Now, he brought out his album, and it was probably the biggest. It was like the Ryan Leaf of albums. Like, it was just a horrible. It just, I have my opinion about it. Maybe some people liked it. You know, everybody that I know was waiting, like salivating for this album.
Every time I drew that,
one of them.
Every time I drew that C, like in my notebook, or like just like the freestyle, like, because I can't, like, yo, this
when Cannabis came out, his album came out, we were all together. We went to Milk's crib to knock it.
Yeah.
And by like the fourth track in, we were like, yo, what is this? Like, this is not what was on the mixtapes.
Yeah, I think those maybe like 3 solid good joints on that whole album. The Buckingham Palace one, whatever,
which is an all-time song. Buckingham Palace is an all-time rap track.
Yeah. And there's like 2 other ones, I think. And out of the other 2, there was one maybe that was like half good. Other than that,
you know,
pretty much.
In 1957, UFOs in Area 51. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And I had the production on the album. Minus Second Round Knockout. You know, minus a couple of tracks that I wasn't a fan of the album.
You know, let me tell you, oh man, because of fucking Wyclef.
Yeah, Wyclef. Yep.
Fucking Wyclef, man.
Well, if you heard
I still have a hate for him because of that.
Well, if you heard the rap battle between him and LL on LL's last diss track to Cannabis, he said, me and Wyclef set you up. So it could have just been politics, man.
Yeah. And
that was the other thing about the mixtapes. I'm sure there was politics in the mixtapes, but that was just a place you could just hear a freestyle or just hear, like, I loved the mixtapes when 50 took it over. Because he had his DJ on it, and for the life of me, I just can't remember his name right now.
K Slay, I think.
Nah, it wasn't K Slay. He ended up
Who Kid.
Yeah. Like, you know, but he, you know, 50 was like, we're gonna do this mixtape. You're gonna talk when it's time to talk. It's not. DJs made it a point to put themselves above the actual tape. So it wasn't listen to this music. It was listen to me and here's some music on the side.
Right.
I'm going to cut you off for 1 second. And there's a lot of truth to that. But think about this. Like, we didn't have like Instagram. We didn't have like a lot of outlets for you to like kind of like promote yourself. So like, it was only, if you're going to hear me on the tape, this was it. So I got to shout out, you know, shit like that. That's the only way that they were going to hear it.
True. And I give you that. But if you look at the blueprint that 50 did on his mixtape run, because he took that ball and he took it to another level. So with that run, Instagram wasn't around like that. Like, it was still not really media platforms like that.
Internet was more popular than when 50 was out compared to like when DJ, like, or the mixtapes like really first started, like early 90s.
Yeah, but it was just like catch me here at myname.com. There was no, I don't even think Facebook maybe. Other than that, it was like MySpace and that was it. Right. So it was like, you know, catch me on MySpace and catch me at so-and-so.com. So it was an extra outlet, but it wasn't like Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and all this other shit like that. It wasn't that. So, you know, going off of 50's blueprint, it was, all right, talk when I'm not rhyming. Or if the song's coming to an end, you know, you do what you have to do. They would have an intro, and it was, you know, the DJ just talking forever. At the end, it was just DJ. That was his time. So the mixtape era was a great era in hip hop.
That was great.
I wasn't a fan of the self-promotion. It was ill-timed when they did it, you know.
Mhm.
And just on a side note, Flex on Hot 97
Oh
cutting
my
up the
God.
same one part for
Yeah.
45 minutes.
Dropping bombs.
Yeah. That got
I
fun, but maybe I'm just weird because like I'm not saying I loved it every time he did it, but like, all right, let's say if I was about to go out and I knew I was going down to the city or going like some or just going out, whatever. I knew that once I started hearing bombs, like it would just like amp me up to like go out, you know, like and then he's blasting some dope shit and the same shit that you probably hear in the club or whatever you're going.
yeah, I give you that. I also give you that, but if you all right, so this to me was Flex, that PD Cracks room. Woo! So if you were listening to that
Game on
and
me.
you're about to hop in the shower to get ready for the night, you know,
Get
Flex
the
would
kid
start cutting that
away.
up. You would take your shower. You would come out the shower. You know, I gotta do a little laundry, do some laundry, make yourself something to eat, come back to the song. Woo! Like he's just cutting that one part up for 45 minutes. And then you're like, all right, Flex. And then 40 minutes later, you're like, yo, play the rest of the song.
And then he'll flip it to like another song. You're like, yo, you didn't even get into the song.
So, you
Yeah.
know, it just, you know, DJs are awesome. The Clues, you know, SNS, I think it was SNS. He was
Oh,
just
man, that's the best. Yeah.
extremely loud on his mixtape. Like you had to like put your ears start bleeding if you're playing it too loud.
Yeah.
You know what I used to do? I used to anybody ever hear of 89 Tech 9?
No.
It was an underground station that only came on like once a week. It was like a college station. And from like 10 to like 1, or I forgot the time frame. It was sick. It was, dude, but you know, being at that age, I would pop my tape in, hit the record, and go to sleep. And I would wake up, flip the tape, hit record, and go back to sleep. And I would wake up and I would take my tape and listen to what, you know, what was there, because they played some ill tunes. That's the first time I heard Winter Wars with Capadonna, and I heard it on 89 Tech 9, bro.
That's one of the best verses. That Capadonna verse, one of the best. One of the best.
Dude, I heard that. It was like opening a new present. Because you had to go review what the you know, what you recorded. So oof, when I first heard that is, you may have to do another like top 10 or something on hip hop somewhere down the line.
We could do that. We could do that. Even though some dope underground show, but I'm mad at myself that I never listened to the Barbito and Stretch and all that shit. But I was like 12 midnight or like mad late, whatever. I was never up around that time. Whenever that show was on.
Shush Armstrong got into the DJ game, the DJ tape.
Oh yeah, come on. He had the that Locks Stretch Armstrong freestyle. Oh my god, when that came out, knocking that for days.
And that's where you appreciated more of the Cannabises, the Loxes, the DMXs, like those dudes that didn't have that mainstream love, but were on fire. That's where those mixtapes came into play.
Oh, man, the whole Dipset era. Oh my god, them cats used to kill freestyle. Oh man.
Yeah. I think Dipset was a movement. You know, when you go into, again, when you open up the history books on hip hop, you know, they have a chapter. I'm not denying that they had a chapter.
They got computers puting and the boosters boosting for sure. That's why I said that. I knew Paul was going to do that.
You got the right away.
So
right away.
That's where I go into the all right. So Dipset. My problem with Dipset was this: they were so popular and could do no wrong by their fan base, and they had a fan base. Like, don't get it wrong. Like, they were the tag team champs for a while. They held that crown as far as like groups. I will never deny that. My issue with Dipset was they got comfortable, which made their pen lazy. I'm a lyrical dude. I need substance. So when they were popping, you could just kind of tell that computers puting, my shooters shooting, my looters looting, my booty's booping. Like, you know, you could tell, because guess what? Because when I like Dipset when they weren't popular anymore, because then they had to go back and sharpen up their sword. Joel's, Jim Jones, even Cam sounded the best when,
sounds amazing right now.
when their popularity dropped. Because, you know, Dame Grease, which was their producer, was,
yeah.
You know, I think a lot of their success went from Dame Grease.
Sampling. Yeah, great sampling. And wait, wasn't the
Yeah,
Heatmakers did a lot of their shit too?
Say that again?
Heatmakers at one point did a lot of theirs.
Okay, fair enough. I just remember Dame Grease. Like I
think Dame Grease was in the beginning, and then at some point they switched over to Heatmaker. Heatmakers was when they were most popular. That was like Heatmakers.
They couldn't miss with a Heatmakers beat. Just beat, if you like,
yeah,
just the beat. Forget don't even put the lyrics in, but they just went off the beat like their whole run, man. Most of their run.
Yep.
Now DJ tapes were amazing. I mean, Fab blew up off of DJ tapes.
Yeah.
A lot of people that was their mainstream. That's like it's like New York. If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. If you can make it on the mixtape scene, you were accepted. Like, all right, go ahead, make an album, bro. We want to hear it. So
yeah. But to your point that you said earlier, as far as like if you don't have the mainstream, and that's why I love the mixtape era, because for all those artists, you'd be like, wow, like they sound good. Like, why don't we hear them on the radio? And like, it was all that whole politics game and that shit. So like the next avenue was mixtapes, you know? And also to the DJs for choosing the shit to play. Like a lot of the shit that I eventually started liking was just off of their particular what's the word I'm looking for? Their particular
taste or selection. Yeah.
Exactly, taste or selection, whatever. So like just off of that, it opened me up to like other artists and other shit, whatever. So I'm like, damn, I probably would never heard of a fucking Casino or a fucking I can't think of anybody else, but like without that mixtape, you know?
DJ and DJ tapes were instrumental in the hip hop world. You know, that era opened the door for a lot of things. It kind of set the bar for
what's going on now.
You still see it. You still see these dudes putting out their mixtapes before anything else and hitting everybody with a hot freestyle and, you know, doing the things that
the album would be like mixtape fodder, you know?
You know, DJs were, you know, that DJ era set the trend, set the bar for a lot of things you see today. So, you know, you still get their DNA and a lot of things that artists are doing now. So, yeah, much props and respects to the DJs of the world. Just stop talking all over the place. But other than that, we good.
Well, I will say this. I pretty much know the reason why they talked over during is because a lot of times they would get these exclusive, and let's say they talk before the track and after the track. Any other DJ could grab their and put it on their joint. So it's kind of like a watermark almost. That's why they were doing it.
Great point.
Agreed, and it's definitely a valid point. But you don't have to go on to if the freestyle is like 2.5 minutes. You don't have to spend 2 minutes going. And then when I leave, I'm going home to the store. Need some eggs. Gotta get some cereal. What? Like, you know, yeah.
Do you remember?
Gonna play the lotto. Like,
take the chicken out. Give him 45 minutes. I
so
make
yes.
the top 10 like ad libs from DJs.
You're the DJ king. You know that more than I would. I just know they talked about. Do remember hit me for butter.
You be
I
like,
had 17
emails.
kills on Call of Duty yesterday, 4 deaths. Like, you know,
I remember Clue had to get like, remember that before you like you could leave a voicemail, like you would have to give like some kind of passcode. So like a lot of the Clue tapes, he would like, you know, spread number 2179, and then he would have to give the whole
you,
password.
that's so what I'm saying is, so, you know, DJs now and like people who put out their instrumentals to sell or whatever, or DJs now, they just hit them with their tag. And that's it. They'll do the tags a lot, but it's not so overbearing that you lose the track. That's what got me. Like, I'm hearing about this dude's, you know, grocery list when I want to hear a hot freestyle. Whereas if they did it now, that's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of trends now were birthed from what the DJs did. So, but now they realize, okay, nobody wants to hear me talk all the way through this. So, you know, Paul and Pals. Like, it would just be that on the track every like 20 seconds or so. So it's enough that you can't dub it without getting me, but not, yo, did you see the Yankee game yesterday? Jeter hit 1-1-2. Like, you know, you get my point.
I thought Girardi was going to put in Mariano earlier. Give the sports updates.
It was like an update on everything.
Do remember, I got that chicken parmesan recipe. Follow me.
Stub my toe. Like, you know.
Oh man, all right, I'm good. That shit was funny.
Mr. William, what'd you
All
pull out
right.
of your hat, brother?
So this is gonna be crazy. So I'm gonna try to run through it quick because I think it's about 4 short stories, so I don't want to take too much time. So, craziest things I've heard this week and that are actually true. All right, let's get into the first story. So, I'm gonna go into Adam Matos. So, about 10 years ago, short story, long story short, Adam Matos had a falling out with his girlfriend. So basically, he wiped out the whole family except the son, which is his son. So there's dead bodies in the house. He stays in the house overnight. He even goes to the neighbors and pretends like everything's okay. He goes over, watches TV, comes back over. At some point, people try to contact the family, and then they get worried. So he like leaves with the son. And then eventually he's caught. So here's the crazy part about this. The crazy part to me is when it came time for trial, they had to remove a juror from the trial. And here's the crazy reason why. It was a female, and she said that, oh, this guy's too pretty and he's too distracting for me. So they had to remove her. Mind you, this guy just wiped out a whole family and then pretended like everything was cool, went over to the neighbors, came back, chilled with the dead bodies in the house.
Made a mixtape.
And this chick is like, yo, he's too good looking and distracting. So she had to be removed.
She later married Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker.
Exactly.
Wow.
People get blinded. You know, there's this saying, facts don't care about your feelings. Like, evidence says this happened. Like, it's a fact, this happened. But people want to use their own validation and their own reasoning and their own feelings. Again, go back to, you know, facts over feelings. Like, forget the fact that you think he's cute and or whatever. Like, forget the fact, excuse me. Forget the fact you think this dude is attractive or whatever case is. Facts state he did this crazy ass heinous crime. put your dumb feelings to the side and look at the facts. The
Thank
fact
you.
that this juror had to be taken away because of that reason, it just shows where we're at as a people, man.
It makes
Exactly.
zero sense,
Yep.
man. It makes zero
Yep.
sense. Zero.
So that was the crazy part of that one. Next one is pretty interesting. So family is living at home. They only have a son, so it's a mother, father, and a son. So they went out. They had some type of food. So they had leftovers, so they brought it back home. So the kid who loved the food was already planning, like, okay, once my parents go to bed, I'm gonna sneak downstairs and have some more. So fast forward, the parents go to sleep. He starts sneaking down the steps, and he noticed the light of the refrigerator was already open. And he peeks, and it's some like random guy drinking milk out of the carton. So he booked it upstairs, told his father, woke his father up or whatever. His father came downstairs, nobody was there. And then the little boy is like, yo, he was right there, he was drinking, he was standing, whatever. The father was kind of like, oh, he probably made this up, blah, blah, blah. Fast forward 2-3 days after, little boy's in his bed and he's looking up. There's like a vent on top of his bed. So he's like just looking up, and he says he could have sworn he's seen some eyes. So he jumps out of bed, runs to his pops. His pops comes in, shines the flashlight, and it's kind of like, oh, I don't see anything, blah, blah, blah. Kind of thinks the kid made it up. Fast forward, I forget how long it was, but what happens is the boy's laying in his bed, and then maggots start coming through the vents and dropping on his bed. So the father's like, holy shit. So he actually calls somebody to to go up in the vents and investigate it. There was a dead man up there. So the son was right. There was somebody in this house living in the attic or whatever that place is up there.
Wow.
True story.
When was this? How long ago was this?
2006, 2007, somewhere around there.
Wow. Wow.
It's
he was actually telling the truth.
You know what's crazy though? I've heard stories like that. Not that story. That story is crazy. But I've heard stories of people finding a nook in somebody's house and just making a life for themselves. I saw this one thing on TV. Dude, I saw this one thing on TV. Shit was moved, shit was missing. It was a husband and wife combo. And they were like, they came to realization they weren't moving the shit. So they're like, yo, what the hell's going on? So they set up a camera and just let it run overnight. I think they're both asleep on the couch, something like that. And all of a sudden you see this elderly woman just come out from the top, walk around, like really just kind of making sure that they're asleep, starts rummaging through shit, just does whatever she has to do, and just slowly,
that lady so hard, man.
on ninja status, just creeps back up and goes upstairs. And when they woke up and they checked the footage, they called 911, whatever, and they found this old lady, and she found a nook upstairs. She snuck in the house when nobody was home. She found this little nook up there. She was living it for like months. That was her routine, and nobody knew.
No, people are gonna have to die for that. I don't care. You're dying for that. You don't fucking stay
Yeah.
down. This ain't like real genius. Like that fucking Laszlo in the closet, some kind of genius.
Real genius. Laszlo. Nice.
This ain't that, man. That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. At least pay me some rent.
You have to know that they're there though. Like that's the crazy part. My house there's parts of my house that are just, for just reasons I don't really go to. Because I have a attic, there's places that they're just there. It's enough space that somebody could, if somebody snuck in, they would just set up shop, and I wouldn't, they would be living in my house. Not even I wouldn't know.
That's absolutely crazy, yo.
Yep.
Reason
Next story is again one of those where we're at as a society, where we're at. Either the girl answers the ad on Craigslist or the guy answers. I think the guy answers. The guy answers a list on Craigslist, like a blind date type of deal. So you go on the date. He picks the girl up, and in their conversation, sometime during their conversation, the guy suggests to the girl. He says, "Do you want to go into the suitcase in the trunk of my car?" I don't know how you segue into that. I don't know how the conversations go into that. But anyway, he asked her that. She agreed, thinking it was like some kinky thing. So she agreed to it. Again. So he takes her to his house, which he already has this room set up where it's like you can't really get out. He has a cage, he has a thing. So he ends up keeping her for like about a month. So shit got real very fast for her. But here's the crazy part. So at some point she found a way to get out. She snuck out, and she got the hell out of there. Now, number one, she didn't report it to the cops. All right, that's number one. Number two, about a few months later, he hits her up on Craigslist and convinces her again, like, hey, I'm sorry for keeping you for that long.
Wait,
this and that.
I had a great time last time. Want to do it again?
I got carried away.
Wait. If you're gonna continue to tell me that she goes back, I might leave the podcast.
She goes back. During the thing, I think they showed the email he sent her, and it just said something like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to keep you for that long, this and that. It's like, I think I saw like 3 paragraphs.
I didn't mean to keep you that long.
It was only for half a month, not a full month. Stupid.
So, like Glenn said, she ends up going back. And she ends up being...
Where are these stupid people at, man? Where are they
That's
at?
what I'm saying. I'm like...
I want to sell some of my garbage to them. Some of my fucking stupid, nonsensical shit.
Len has a perfectly good cage, and nobody's in there. Where are these dumb people at? I got a cage over here.
I got all this closet space. maybe I gotta increase the duration. I'm only asking for like a week. Maybe I gotta push it to like a month. Oh my God.
So yeah, she goes back, and again he keeps her for even longer, like a couple of months. Now here's the thing. Eventually she does it.
Wait, I'm sorry. Did this story like discuss like how she got fed, or like was he like just completely like left alone for like months? Because how can you survive months?
No, he would definitely feed her. Like he had this whole contraption set up. Might have even been soundproof or whatever, but he would like give her meals.
Yeah, what
just to keep her alive.
What is he, a savage?
He has manners. At least he has manners. I'll give him that. Fucking crazy.
Like, who raised this dude?
He's a gentleman. He was raised right.
Yeah. And that's
what some of these women are. That's what some of these women are gonna say out there. Man, he's a real good guy.
At least he's committed. At least he's committed.
Yeah.
So she escaped again.
So she escaped again, and this time for good. She escaped for good. Again, don't know why she didn't report it.
Left the note, see you next week.
God.
Again, I don't know why she didn't report it to the cops. And secondly, I'm not sure why he didn't end up like killing her. But anyway, after her, he ended up getting somebody else, and it ended up being a murder-suicide. He ended up killing the chick, and then he ended up doing suicide. I'm not sure why it didn't happen with the first chick, but either which way, I'm like, that first chick, if she would have reported him or whatever, it could have prevented all of this. Like,
Just saved the life.
yeah,
I
That
don't.
girl, not
I
him,
mean,
but
damn, you go into. I can't believe people are people, but that's like that times two. You know, like
yeah,
A, you found a date on Craigslist. That's not knocking. I mean, you know, even people are have that potential on dating sites, but at least it's a site for dating. You can still find a wackadoo over on a dating site, you know, no doubt. But you're going to Craigslist to find a date. You find a date, and he goes, "Hey, you want to role play? Play my luggage, like play my folded clothes." Puts her in a suitcase, and she agrees to it. Oh, he must be some freak. I'm into this.
yeah.
crazy. Just crazy.
Come home, opens up the luggage, says get in the cage, and she goes, "Oh wow, you really are a freak. Oh, I found heaven." And you know, at what point does she go, "Wow, like, man, you're too much of a freak on for me"? But evidently not, because she had to escape and then came back. So
And
it's
then
like
came back.
it's beyond human nature. Like that's a Valentine's Day love story.
Yeah, it's a thing I follow on YouTube. It's like stories when you hear it sounds false, but they're actually true, and I'm just like,
Oh, is this where like somebody at the end goes, "You are right. This is correct," or like this really did
no,
happen?
no, no.
Oh,
That's the guy that narrates it, right? Like just some dude that just narrates it. Like
Yeah,
he
yeah,
tells the story.
yep.
I
He's an ex army or marine dude. His name is Mr. Ballen, Ballen.
I
He
have
has a whole bunch of the stories.
I have recently found him on YouTube and immediately subscribed because he has some interesting stories on that.
I saw all. I think he has like 50. I saw all 50 in like 2 days.
yeah.
So some of the shit you can't believe, man. He has some
Yeah,
interesting ones. So yeah, anybody wants to check those stories out, there it is, Mr. Ball. Go check him out.
Mr. Ballen.
Ballen, right?
Uh, Mr. Ballen.
All right.
And also check out that chapter, THAT chapter. That chapter. That's
Oh,
another good one. They're more on the serial killer type. Mr. Ballen is more on like these crazy stories.
in general, they could
Um,
range from supernatural to psycho
yeah, yeah.
killer to just some random shit. Yeah, yeah. I had two stories, but I think they're gonna take too long. So I guess I'll just go into one, just kind of make it quick. So
Okay.
since this is Valentine's Day and all, uh, and I think I'll put the link of the IG thing from Steven Jackson, basketball player.
Stat.
Steven Jackson.
uh, Retired now, great basketball player. You know, was in the league a while. Gotta be good to be in the league for as long as he was. So he was a good player.
He has some good runs. Yeah, he's a good
He
player.
he had an Instagram live feed and he was giving his story. And he was in love with somebody. They loved each other. Not, you know, no relationship is perfect, so they had their ups and downs. But he asked her to marry her. She was like, "Yeah, of course I will." Blah blah blah. So they planned the wedding for 6 months. Now he said, "I have a lot of people I help out, so we need to make a prenup." She agreed. You know, according to him, you can't have a prenup unless both parties agree to it. So she agreed to the prenup and what the prenup said and everything, and she agreed to it.
But just never signed it.
So that was 6 months. 4 months left before the wedding, and he's like, "Yo, you haven't signed it yet." And she's like, "Well, you know, it's been busy. I'm gonna sign it. Don't worry about it." All right. Few months into the wedding, and it's just, "Yo, what's up? Like, do you have any ulterior motives? Like, why haven't you signed this yet?" "Oh no, it's this, that, you know, no." And he said, "Like, I'm trying to be a good dude. I love her. You know, I get it. I'm trying to be a good dude. So I was like, all right, I get it, but this has to be signed before the wedding. She's like, all right. So he goes, hey, I got a pastor. They're getting married in Houston, where he's from. She's from New York. So they're getting married in Houston. And she goes, I have a pastor that I want to have the wedding. I have a pastor that I want to have the wedding done by. He goes, well, look, man, we can save money. We're going to my hometown. I have a pastor that I've known my whole life. I want him to marry us. So they go back and forth. And again, he's like, all right, I'm going to make you happy. It's technically your day. We can have your pastor do it. Mind you, she's never met this pastor. So a month before the wedding, day of the wedding, flashback one day before the wedding, they all get to Houston and they have a kid together. So the nanny for the kid, because the bride and groom separated at that point. And he's like, yo, there's not going to be a wedding. She doesn't sign this. And she's like, no, I'm going to make sure she signs it. Don't worry about it. Next day, mind you, this is a 6-month thing. Next day of the wedding, everybody's in their areas getting ready for the wedding. And the nanny comes back. She's like, yo, she hasn't signed it yet. He's like, all right, wedding off. Like, there is no wedding. The pastor, who she never met, comes in. It was a friend that suggested it. Comes in and goes, wait, before you make a rash decision, you love this woman. I'm a man of God. God doesn't believe in prenups. I don't believe in prenups. You should let God handle it. That's what he said. And Steven Jackson said, that's why she wanted you. And he had a funny ass comment. He goes, well, God told me to put the pen in her hand. He said, God's telling us 2 different things, man. And he's like, the pastor's like, well, I don't believe it. He goes, well, we're not in the same tax bracket. So he's like, wedding off. And again, the link will be on the description, so you guys check it out. But it's a great story with Steph Marbury, Mike Bibby's mom. Like, there's a whole bunch of names thrown in there.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna say, like, the part when he mentions is it Mike Bibby's mom or whoever's mom it was that spoke to him?
Mike Bibby's mom.
That was a dope moment, man. That was dope.
That was dope. Steven Jackson has some real people on this team, so I give him, salute to Steven Jackson. But he ends up, I guess one of the bridesmaids or one of the bride's friends comes by and she's like, you need to talk to her. She wants to talk to you. Don't throw this away. She loves you. You owe it to her to talk to her. He goes, all right, I'll talk to her. He already changed clothes. Like, he's already done with it. He goes to see her. She's still in her wedding dress, crying. I'll sign it. I'm going to sign it. Don't worry. Let's have the wedding. And he brought up a very important thing. And for whatever, take this message for whatever it's worth. If somebody or yourself signs a contract and you're crying, quote unquote, not in the right frame of mind,
under duress,
that signature could be thrown out.
Could be null and void, yeah.
So Steven Jackson, he was like, I'm hip to the game. He goes, I knew that shit before it started. So he was just like, you ain't gonna sign that shit and we go to court and say you were under duress and it gets thrown out. So long story short, man, he never got married. If you make a certain amount of money, you go into a relationship, you better have that other person sign that prenup.
Yeah. We
talked about it. Agendas. It's not about if I like you and you like me anymore. Like, relationships have very little to do with love nowadays. So
more a business venture.
it's like a business venture. It used to be, I like you, you like me. You're struggling right now, but it's okay, boo, because we're gonna struggle together. And I'm gonna be your crutch. And we're gonna build. If you find a queen in your life and she helps you build, and you guys build together and it doesn't work out, which happens. I mean, people grow one way or another. Like, people can go all their whole lives like this, and all of a sudden, they start to go apart from each other. That happens, man. I get it. But if you build together, all right, we need to divvy this up, because you gave something that you can't give back, which is time. You helped me build this to where I'm at now. You deserve a portion of it. That's out of just strength. If you go into it and you have all of this and they come in with nothing, and nowadays, like, to be with somebody, it's like the woman needs a resume. All right. And they don't want to go through the hassle of building. They just want to be plucked into a foundation.
Yeah.
It's gone are the days of, all right, baby, we're going to build this together. It's, I like you, but this ain't going to work out because I need to live this certain lifestyle that probably they never had before.
Exactly.
If you're used to being a bum, be a bum, but build together. And it's not like that anymore, man. Agendas, dude.
Double mint bums.
Be the double mint bums until you guys are something solid.
Yeah.
But with that said, though, because I already know people, whatever. Ladies, but percentages say that that's going to be the situation. However, there's some boss women out there, and people are assholes. So women, if you're on a certain level and you marry somebody out of love and they're not the level of you, have that dude sign a prenup.
So wait, what was the one to you? There's some what out there? There's some what ball? I didn't hear what you said.
Boss women.
Oh, boss. Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah, there are.
There are women that, have established themselves and are at a certain status. And there's nothing wrong. Like is like. You like somebody, but they're struggling or they're not there yet. Have at it. But don't put yourself in a position. You have to cover your base. Kind of world we live in now. So for the men that are out there that's successful and the women that are out there successful, unless you have built together, don't build by yourself and then have to give half of your shit to somebody. Tiger Woods had to give like $250 million to his wife, who's a babysitter. $250 million. She didn't help him putt. She wasn't a caddy. Didn't walk around with a bag or nothing.
She wasn't in the gym.
She was. Yeah, that's what he was saying. That's what Steven Jackson said. He said, none of these women in the gym with me. And that's true though. If you guys are the double bum twins and she's in the gym, like grabbing the rebounds and giving you to help you out with your jumper game, there's something to be said for that. But if not, So
I agree. I so agree with that.
Just a cautionary tale, man, of just cover your bases and just, love doesn't exist anymore. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. But love doesn't exist anymore.
On that note, yeah, happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
It's the way we were raised on how to treat somebody that you like is an archaic, outdated way.
Yep.
The chivalry, like it probably got murdered somewhere along the line, but I was a chivalrous dude. Like, I believe in romance. Like, I believe in being a good dude to somebody that you genuinely like. If I don't like you, I'm going to treat you a certain way. If I like you on that level, I treat you a certain way. But unfortunately, this day and age, that gets looked at as a negative for some reason. Yep. Like, I have to, from time to time, DDT you to let you know.
Yeah. But you have to do something bad or something that is going to crush them to keep the relationship going.
I have to give a weekly chair shot just to let you know that I can be this hunk of shit, even though you mean the world to me. But people don't mean the world to each other anymore. Like, that's the problem.
Yeah.
There is a checklist. Before the checklist was, I like you, check. You like me, check. We like each other, check. That's it.
Start from there.
Now the checklist, you got to pull out a scroll that's like a foot long that says, all right, can you provide? Boom. Can you do this? Boom. Are you able to do this? Boom. Can you do this? Boom. I don't feel like building together. Am I established just going into this relationship? You know, if one of those don't check off, like the last thing on the check off list is now, do I like this person?
Yeah.
It's more about like how can I benefit off of this relationship?
It's
instead of,
less
like,
of a relationship, more of a, yeah, it's less of a relationship and more of a business merger.
Right.
And you know, good luck with that. That's why the divorce rate is what it is, man. That's why everybody has a baby mama or a baby daddy. People look at me like, wow, how are you still single? How do you not have kids yet?
Man.
Huh?
That's like a unicorn.
It is.
Rarities, man.
It's rare that you find somebody single with no kids because people are quick to just jump into it. And then you end up in a situation that you're now locked into somebody that you liked for 2 months and now you hate for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
And you know, that's what it is now. And that's why I'm still fucking single, because I'm not settling. Maybe I won't, maybe I'll be single for the rest of my life. Maybe I'll never have a kid. Don't know. But people rush into things based on an agenda that has nothing to do with like or love anymore.
And a lot of it too, like as far as like that point, has to do with how society looks at people that are not in a relationship. You know, a lot of people are like, oh my God, I have to be in a relationship to be accepted, or there's got to be like the mask or the ambiance of all that. You know, like you have to show all that.
That's a trick that women pipe more than men. Women, oh, I'm at this age, I don't have a kid, I don't have a family, I don't have this. They're now labeled. That's what a lot of it is, labels. I don't live in labels.
No doubt. There's this girl I know that you know, she's single for a minute, and then like, yo, as soon as she gets into a relationship, oh my God, she is like post happy. Every fucking post is about, I'm like, it's like you were just waiting for that moment. You were just waiting for that, waiting so that you could be as like in the social media club as far as like having a relationship.
It's her fault, but it's not her fault, because again, labels. You know, when I grew up, the label was, you find yourself a good man that could take care of you. Find yourself a rich man. That's what they told little girls. You know, now the label is, by 30, you have to have a family. You have to have a boyfriend or a husband. You have to have a kid. Like, that's the label and the stigma that they have. So at that age, when women don't have a kid, or they're not in that label, they start to spaz out. So they just go, you.
Yep.
Let's do it. And then they find themselves miserable because they feel like they have to make this decision because they're at a certain age. I get the biological clock and all that. I get that part of it. But by 20 something, you should be having an established relationship, getting ready for marriage. At 30 something, you should have a kid by now.
I'm gonna hit you a little inside story. So I dated a girl, obviously not gonna say her name, whatever, but she was like in her mid 30s, no kid, single, and maybe like a month and a half into the relationship of us, well, not even relationship, but of us talking, I got a sit down from her and her sister, like planning out, like saying like, yeah, so you guys need to get pregnant like from like a month from now, so that way this can happen. Both your faces said it all. I was like, Wait, what?
That's
After a
the
month?
label.
A month and a half. I would give it a month and a half or something like that. No, we weren't even talking about like if we're like a couple. Again, it's a month and a half. You know,
Her rule book says she has to have a kid by this age.
yeah. And I'll share something else after, not on camera, but like of a situation where I'm like, all right, man. One, I dodged a bullet. Two, yo, that was the game plan. That was the game plan.
It's a game plan. Forget, let's make sure we're happy here. Forget all the things that make a solid relationship. You know, people want to bypass building the foundation when they hit a certain point. It's like, fuck the foundation. Just put the walls up and we'll figure it out. But if your foundation ain't shit, your house is crumbling down. That's why women have, you know, multiple kids with multiple baby dads, because that label tells them they have to be something. So they then have to settle. And that's why you see a lot of relationships are just fucked, because, you know, people want to settle because these checklists have to be hit.
Yeah.
It's not life doesn't work like that, man. Make
There's
your
this really cool I don't really know her, but I follow her, and like I like a lot of her thinking and the way she like proposes things. And she said that like one time in her life, like she was having a rough moment, and like, you know, she's supposed to go away for some trip, and she forgot her passport, and she forgot some other things, whatever. So like she basically was stranded, and she just like had like a moment where she was just reflecting on like on everything that was going on in her life, whatever. And then she mentioned something as far as like dealing with the timeline of should-haves. Or all of us have that, like, oh, I should have done this by this age, or I should have done this by this age, whatever. And she's like, yo, that's something that you have to get away from, because if you like let's say that you shouldn't set goals or set your life into to a certain direction, but when things are like not necessarily unattainable, but like certain things that you shouldn't set a goal for, or like just shouldn't have that mindset in your mind, whatever. So she's like, I'm wiping away that mindset of should-haves, and like, you know, just trying to live my life a different way.
So I've seen something similar, and it went like this. You set your goals, you have your plans. Your plans will always change. Your goal, as long as it's a righteous goal, it stays the same. But your plans will always change. But you will lose that thing thinking into the future like that. You still have to live in the now. And that's part of plans changing. As long as you have your goal and you see the finish line, that's cool, but you can't keep living today working off of 5 years from now, 5 years from now, 5 years from now, because you still have today to deal with today. And a lot of people lose their todays because they're so far into the future. And then when they hit that 5 years, okay, well, now what's my new 5-year goal? And you keep losing your todays trying to go into the future.
And time is going. So
time is going. You have to, it's a balance. You make your goals, you have your 5-year goal, and you always have that goal there, but live for the now. Because, you know, they say it's not so much the end result, it's the journey. But if you're only concentrating on the end result, you're going to miss the journey. And that's tough, man. Time is that thing we can't get back.
Yeah.
Enjoy the journey. Don't worry about the labels. Don't worry about the checklist. If you know, there is a checklist. If you're in a relationship, do I like you? Do you like me? Okay, cool. Now let's live today and see what happens later on. Instead of this checklist, can you provide? Can you do this? Can you do this? Because guess what? Nothing in the future is guaranteed. That checklist could be thrown out the window. That person could go bankrupt. Anything could happen. That good life that your checklist said is good could be taken away. Goes back to the foundation. If the foundation of I like you, I love you, you like me, you love me, if that foundation is set, that other checklist shit is irrelevant. Because you might like somebody and be in a good situation that they're okay. But if their shit goes south, but the foundation is still there, you're now not miserable. But people go, huh?
Something to build off of.
You build off the very basic nature of it, which is like and love. People are just flip-flopping that shit around, and the things that aren't relevant are prioritized. So if those things that aren't relevant become a factor, they weren't relevant, but now your prioritization is dictating what it shouldn't. And that puts people in tough spots, man. That's why people in relationships are fucked up now. So, yeah, that's my Steven Jackson story. I'll put that link up.
And a lot of these stories that I hear, it's crazy to me. So the couples, you know, they rush into things, whatever. Either 9 times out of 10, either the husband gets a crazy life insurance on the wife, or the wife gets a crazy life insurance on the husband. Then you got to deal with all these murder for hires, murders, and it just goes crazy, man.
But again, if the checklist was very simple of I love this person, they love me, let's live our lives and just see what happens. There's no need for all that. And again, things happen, times change, people grow apart. I get all that, but the foundation has to be good. If you're all like, oh man, this insurance policy is going to kick in, you know, that means your foundation is fucked up. People have that agenda list more so than anything else. And, you know, you see that I don't see too many relationships of people that are happy. I see a lot of miserable motherfuckers, man.
Yep.
I see a lot of people that rush into having a kid because that's what labels dictate you have to do. And then you're stuck with this person that you hate, forget like, or can stand. I see people that hate each other, but they have a kid, so now they are just connected for life.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, it was because the things that they were checking off was irrelevant. So,
and depending on the person, that either the male or the opposite person in the relationship, when you hear all the things that they say they can't stand, or the things that are like the major issues with and there's no fixing some of this stuff. Like the person is not, you just know that they're not going to change, and then they stay right with them and deal with all that. And I'm like, yo, I couldn't do that. Going back to what you said, settling, I call me whatever category that puts me in, I'll stay in that fucking category, because I'm never gonna fucking settle.
The smart category, bro.
Never.
That's where it puts you in. Like, okay, like, oh my God, you're still single. Why? Because I'm not miserable like you, that I have this kid that's, you know, with somebody. And then, you know, you meet somebody that has a kid. You gotta worry about that extra shit that goes on with that. Like, there's so much shit that starts off with one bad decision.
Yep.
And I get it.
Sorry to cut you off, Paul, but there's a funny comedian. Well, that's kind of oxymoron, funny comedian. But he talks about this. I'll send you the link to his stand-up. It's really, really good. And he breaks all that shit down, like how, again, this is all shit made up by society for us to think that that's like the route that all of our lives have to go, when it doesn't have to be that way.
It's people that dictate what other people should do, and people follow it for some reason.
Yeah.
And like, you know, women with the labels, they have a biological clock. Life dictates that you have to be married at this age. You have to have a kid at this age. You have to do this at this age if you're a woman. It's fucked up. I feel bad for women in that aspect.
It's a lot of pressure.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen it where it starts out good, maybe based on a false foundation, and then it just gets worse, where I seen it where this woman liked this guy because they were both into heavy metal. So he was like leather, earring, heavy metal type dude. She was too. So they got together, they got married. At some point, when she got pregnant, he did some growing up. So all of a sudden, he's no longer wearing the leather, the earrings. Now he's trying to get a job, wearing a suit, clean cut, blah, blah, blah. And she hated him for that. She's like, you weren't the same guy. That's the same rocker dude I met, back then. Long story short, she ended up trying to get a kill for hire to kill him and all that. And I'm just like, wow, this started out.
Because I'm not into grunge
crazy.
anymore? God damn. Can we just talk about it? Can we just fucking talk about it? Maybe I'll grow my hair back.
Right?
Fuck,
that was her thing. She's like, yo, you weren't the same rocker dude I met. You're wearing suits.
So I'm not gonna break up with you. I'm not gonna get a divorce. I'm just gonna kill you. That's my fucking first option.
I like how stories that we have end up in divorce or breaking up, and all of Will's stories end up with a fucking kill for hire. Look, man, we've already established this a couple episodes ago. Life is hard, man. Positive, negative, no matter what. Life is hard. People like to make things harder on each other. People that have the same likes today might not have the same likes tomorrow.
Right.
People grow. For better or worse, people grow. And that means you might grow apart from somebody. But to add all these extra things on this checklist, you're almost setting yourself up for failure. And in a relationship, man, like start with the very basic foundation of, do I like, can I stand this can I stand the things can I stand their negatives?
And you just said something, I think, in my opinion, that is the most important part of a relationship. Not like how much you guys get along. It's more about how much you can tolerate the shit that that's gonna fucking annoy you.
But that's true. That's a true statement. It's, look, when shit's lovey-dovey and you're in that little nirvana phase, everything, oh, this is wonderful, this is heavenly, it's so blissful, I want this to last forever. Scientifically, that shit lasts 2 years. After that 2-year phase, people get accustomed to each other, and then you have to deal with the shit that makes you annoyed by them. That's your baseline. If after those 2 years and life starts to settle in and you are now accustomed to this person like that, if you could stand their horse shit and still look at them and be like, I still love this person, you're good. People don't want to go through those first 2 years. They want to go 3 months into it. Oh, this is my boo forever. And this is my forever person. But you still have a year and change to get settled in. Then, oh, wow, that 2 years settles in. Holy shit, this person's fucking annoying. Fuck. But by that time, you don't take the time. So you've leapfrogged into living together, into having a kid, into marriage, before that 2 years settlement. And then you get to know somebody. You get to know people after two things. When you move in together, then you get to see what they're really about. And after those 2 years, and that blissful thing ends. If you could stand them when you live together, and after those 2 years, and you start to see the things that annoy you, because it's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
After you move in together, and after those 2 years, and you are able to, after all that, if you're still able to be like, I still want to be with this person, you're good. People want to rush, man.
Who's the comedian that was like, even though it wasn't based like on a 2 year thing, but he was like, when you first meet somebody, you're meeting the representative or some shit like that.
It's true. I don't know the comedian. I know the skit.
It was Chris Rock or one of the Chris's.
I think it was Chris Rock. I think. Don't quote me on it, but I think it was Chris Rock. Yeah. You always put your best foot forward, whether it's a job interview, whether it's the first person you're meeting for the first time, for a relationship. That It lasts a while.
Yeah. But when
And
that
then, you
wears
know,
off, that's when your shit gets real.
that's after those 2 years, man, your shit gets real. That's when you base your relationship off of. Those first 2 years, you're just having fun, being freaks, doing all that shit. All right. How are you after that happens? When the emotional part comes in, when the negatives that they bring to the table comes in. If you could deal with that, you're probably going to be okay. But again, like, that takes a while to happen. People are just like, oh, I met him a week ago. I'm in love. And I get the endorphins, like that great feeling that it gives you. But you got to get past that before you realize if this is a forever thing or not. And people are just like, nah, this is forever. No, I'm a whole 5 minutes. This is going to be my forever person. And people jump. People want to just leapfrog into the future. People want to go from A to Z and not have to deal with the rest of the alphabet. You could, but the results kind of speak for themselves. So, you know.
I'm laughing because the whole time you're talking there, I'm thinking of everyone turning into brother love. I love you.
That's what it is. Everybody's a brother love when it first starts.
Yeah.
It is rainbows, daffodils, and kumbayas. Eventually, the kumbaya song has to end. Eventually, the daffodils die.
And the shotgun comes in.
And the murder for hire start.
And when you do that, when the murder for hire start, call the California Police Department because apparently they don't know how to fucking investigate a fucking suicide.
I know, right?
So,
yeah.
That's why I'm single, man.
All lovey-dovey. Little camera.
Camverse. I get the lovers loving.
Like over nothing. Yeah. Funny.
So, yeah, that's about it, man. So, that's all I got. I actually will, and I'm going to put this as a teaser for the next episode. Will, I owe you my story, my one Maury Povich story. I was gonna in the name of Valentine's Day, since I'm just firing out lovey-dovey shit left and right, I was gonna add that to the equation. But that's a story that's long overdue. I told Len, but we just kept missing each other, so I never got around to telling you that story. So I'll give you my one Maury Povich story and why I'm traumatized from any type of relationship. That's not the biggest traumatization I've ever had from a relationship, but I would say this. Relationships you can either learn, they can damage and hurt you, or you could be in bliss. I don't know bliss.
What's that?
I've had a couple that hurt. Like I've damaged from relationships based off of that. But this one, the story I'm going to tell you next week, is not a damaging story. It was a very eye-opening life lesson. So grab your popcorn and we'll take care of it next week then.
All right.
So, yeah. So Steven Jackson's link will be there. I'm going to put a link to Mr. Ballen in there too, because he has great stories.
He's real good.
Yeah, they have great stories, so check them out. And all of our links will be linked up in there. Unless anybody has anything to add, we'll put a bow on this one.
Yeah, I'm good.
All right.
Yep. Yeah.
So for Mr. William.
All right.
Len Dukes.
Yeah.
No shit.
DJ Len Dukes.
Yeah, let me DJ this shit out. Go ahead.
I am Paul Allen. Thank you for hopping on for another Paul and Pals podcast. We're in all the media things and all that. I'll put the links in. And
Thanks up.
DJ Len Dukes, take us out.
America. Yeah.
Nice.
You remember.
Bye.